Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another Toolbox Extra on the Educational AD podcast. We'll be right back with this week's guest, but as always, we want to give a shout out to our great sponsors. Now, I know you hear this every episode, but it's worth repeating. These are all companies that I used as an AD, and they're all great companies. I have absolutely no problem endorsing them and suggesting that you try them out. So listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Toolbox Extra segment, and then go and visit these sponsors if you're not already using them. You're going to be very glad you did. Here we go. We want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to their website and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be like a magnet for kids, coaches, how about sponsors? That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. As an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com. Your coaches, your athletes, even your parents are going to love all the features of the Huddle platform. Join the 8 million users and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables, and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. That's sidelineinteractive.com. Check them out today. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Mobile, particularly Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school. Tremendous success. Coaches loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their other platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We want to thank our friends at Gipper. If you've ever wanted to step up your social media game, go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing expert. It could be just a simple social media post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter using one of their templates. You really got to check this out. Showcase all the great things that you're doing in the community. Either way, go to Gipper.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast. That's Gipper.com. We also want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is the official high school sports administration platform for a number of states, thousands of ADs, and even if your state has a different platform for scheduling and scores, that sort of thing, you can still be a home campus school, and their athletic clearance and eligibility platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast. That's homecampus.com. We'd like to thank Ohio University and their online master's in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio University program, and it was a great experience. While he was doing it, he also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We'd like to thank Hometown. Hometown is truly changing the game with their suite of solutions for things like, well, online ticketing. They're still the leading digital ticketing provider. How about athletic website construction or fee-free fundraising? Check out Hometown, and you're going to find that they can help you save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. That's hometown.com. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything: kids, coaches, teachers, parents. And the information that came back was typically over the top positive, and it'll be the same for you. We also got to hear from those squeaky wheel parents, but we got to hear their concerns, usually address them before they turned into something big. But having all of that positive data was incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let them create a custom survey for you and your school. That's athleticsurveys.com. And don't forget to mention the podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to a segment that we call the Toolbox Extra. We're joined today by truly someone who's a friend of the show and an old friend. Zach Shank is going to be our guest today. Longtime listeners will probably recognize that name. Zach was a guest on the podcast. Wow, I think our very first season. Has an incredible background in athletics as a coach, as an athletic director. Now he's starting a new adventure. But Zach Shank, welcome back to the podcast.
Jake, thanks, man. Excited to be here. Obviously, been on with you, and I think some of those books I see on the screen there, I think I may be featured in one or two of those as well, which is pretty cool. So, thank you for the opportunity, and excited to be able to talk about some new adventures today.
Yeah, no, I think you're in the original Athletic Director's Toolbox. I think you're in
Yeah.
our first season. Well, for somebody who might not be familiar with your background, give us that broad brush strokes, where you were born, went to school, and then your career that's kind of brought you up now to, as we've said, this new adventure.
Yeah, so born and raised here in Jacksonville, Florida, and graduated high school in 2008, went to Trinity Baptist College here in town, in Jacksonville, played 4 years of basketball there, was hired on as an assistant with the men's basketball team for, I think it was like 4 years. Then decided to take a route in the high school realm and got my first AD job in 2014, and was there for 3 years. Then got the opportunity to move to Raleigh, North Carolina, to kind of pursue a same path, just at a different school and some different opportunities. And so I went to News Christian Academy up in Raleigh, North Carolina. Was there for 5 years, where I was the athletic director, and the started out as a boys basketball coach, and then made the transition to girls basketball. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me how. It just happened that way. When you're the AD, sometimes you just got to do things.
Yeah.
And so I had some pretty good success up there. My wife and I had a daughter that was born in 2020, which was such a fun year for all of us around here. And so by about 2022, we were kind of like, all right, we don't have any family here. What are we doing? So we started looking at some opportunities to kind of move closer to family, and I ended up getting an opportunity at Eagles View Academy, which was right here in Jacksonville. Our goal was just to kind of be back in Florida somewhere, just around family. Didn't expect to come back to Jacksonville per se, and Eagles View opened up, and so moved back to Jacksonville in 2022, and was there until this last school year. And now I am the director of athletic operations with the Sunshine State Athletic Association.
Yeah. And again, we connected, I think, right before you came back to Eagles View. We had you on the podcast. And speaking of podcasts, Zach, started his own podcast, like a lot of us did during
Yeah.
COVID. So he certainly knows this. Um, you mentioned the opportunity at the Sunshine State Conference. We're going to get to that, but I'm wondering if you could share a little bit. Again, it's a great opportunity. I want you to share that, but part of the motivation to explore that job, you and I talked before we started recording, and it's no surprise when we say athletic directors wear a lot of hats, they work a lot of jobs, they're overworked. Can you talk a little bit about your situation at Eagles View that kind of prompted your move to Sunshine?
Yeah, so back in May, my wife had our second child, which is our son. Um, and some things just kind of clicked. And at a small school, which Eagles View is a small school, I am a small school guy. I was born and raised small school, and I've just been involved with the small school side of things since I got started, and I really have a heart and passion to see the small schools succeed and compete. But when you're at a small school, right? You wear many hats, and I'm that's the way I was raised. I saw my parents, my mom who worked at the school, grandparents who worked at the school and did different things like that. And so you grow up seeing that, and you take it on, right? That's the way you've always known it, and you just adapt to it. And so it's kind of the similar thing. And kind of thinking through that, I'm like, all right, here I am now with a 5-year-old daughter and a newborn. Um, is there something else out there that allows me to be home more? And talking through this with other, AD friends and people that I look up to and running these ideas off of them, it's a no-brainer. You got to do it. You got to do it. And so, you know, our athletic staff and especially me as an athletic director, we have to be present at a lot of home events. And so, you're potentially playing four. Some people are playing five, home games, depending on how many programs and teams you have within your department. And there's a possibility for me to be at the school, 4 days, 4 nights out of the week. We don't play Wednesdays, so that's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And I just had to kind of reevaluate that and look at it and see what was the best fit for me and for my family to be present. And so it kind of led to the idea of this. I was not looking for an opportunity, and then this literally just fell in my lap, and then all of these thoughts started kind of happening, and so um, that opportunity kind of led and prompted me to kind of pursue this a little bit more. I was the vice president of the board of directors for the Sunshine State Athletic Association, and so I kind of already had an idea of what the SSAA was about. And they're same thing. They're about the small school, succeeding and having, a level competition, field to play on and things like that. And so it fit the mold for what I'm about, and I think we matched our views very closely. And so that led to the idea of, all right, I'll send my resume off, and send it off. And I was like, hey, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, then what's the best time to look for a job is when you already have one, right? So
Exactly.
um, I, would have been content either way, and then things panned out. And next thing you know, I'm getting a call saying, "Hey, welcome, you're the guy." I was like, "Okay, all right." So let me take this in real quick, But that's what led me to the potential change. I think the average, I don't know what it is now. I think this was a couple years ago. The average like lifespan of a high school athletic director is like I think 3 to 4 years.
Mhm.
Well, it lasted 12, so I guess I already beat the mold there. Um, but again, I mean, 3 years, and I've seen it. I see guys come in. I get a new email from somebody. Hey, I'm the new athletic director, and then next year I get another email from a new guy who just replaced that guy. It's
Right.
every year, and to me, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be that guy. Let's stick this out. But at the same time, you got to make decisions on what's best for you and your family at the time. And I felt like this was one of those things.
Yeah, and again, use the word a couple of times. It was the right fit. For you. Your background, your desires, and of course, the family. Fitting the family in there. Good for you. All right, let's talk Sunshine State Athletic Conference for somebody who's not here in Florida, and even I think some of our EDs in Florida that are members of the other state association, the Florida High School Athletic Association. They might not know a lot about the Sunshine State Athletic Association. So, what is it? And I guess what is your role now as the director of athletic operations?
Yeah. So within the role, I'm managing the day-to-day of the association. We did make that adjustment from a conference to an actual association about a year and a half, 2 years ago. So we do consider ourselves a full association, and we have several schools that are full members, and then we have some schools that are just simply members. And the difference between that is a full member competes in every sport that we offer. A basic member would say, all right, we're going to compete in football, or we're going to compete in football and basketball, but we're not going to compete, in this other because they're a dual affiliated school with the other association here in town or here in Florida. And which is fine. That's great. The original idea of the SSAA was it started in 2008 and started primarily with football schools
Right. Mhm.
because the idea was, yeah, and it's the same thing, right? Last year or 2 years ago, I forget how many ever years ago, FHSA restructured the districts for football. Well, Eagles View Academy, that has 120 kids in high school, was put in the same district with another school here in town that's got about 600 in high school. and they're a 9-time state champs. I'm not going to mention their name
Sure.
just because, but how does that match up? They have almost 600. We have not even 150. But that's the district that we have to play in. We would compete for what, one quarter in football, and then it'd be a bloodbath. Um, and I don't know, maybe there's a solution out there somewhere that, the smaller football side could eventually change. I don't know. I'd be willing to help and talk with whoever on that. But that is the kind of the original idea of the SSA was for the small schools with football, 11-man football, to have more of a level playing field, right? The competition just kind of be, hey, like we got a chance every single game we walk into, or whatever it may be. So it started back in 2008. Obviously, now we are pushing 150 member schools, and that's encompassing everybody, right? A full member, a partial member, if you will, whatever you want to refer to that. And I really do the rate that we're getting applications in. I could see us being upwards of 200 members in the next 2 years. We get applications left and right, and which is a great opportunity for us. And we also give our accrediting rules and regulations are a little different, which is really helpful. Obviously, you do have to be accredited by, a recognized association, but we also do recognize a couple different ones that are not recognized by some other associations. So that helps with some of these schools that, maybe are starting out and have a simple, accreditation or something like that. And so we allow them to be able to compete and have a championship to play for. We have 98 football schools within our association. And so we have that's 11 man. And then I'll talk about another aspect of football that we have here in just a second. We do have, and we refer to it as the Atlantic League. And so that is a public school side of it, such as like here in Jacksonville, we have Paxson, we have Stanton College Prep, some of our rural schools that are in that rural division have joined us because obviously, it's again a level playing field, and that's what they're looking for. So we do have an Atlantic division for football, which is public schools. And then we have out of those 98, the rest of them are, mostly private Christian, some charter schools, things like that. Again, level playing field for those football schools. We are the only association in the state of Florida to represent and recognize 8-man football. So we have a pretty huge, a pretty large 8-man division. All of those are sectioned out into divisions. They have their divisions where they'll play, and then they have a state tournament and so on as well. And yes, sir.
How many, I guess maybe a couple things. Again, I love what you're sharing. How many teams, how many schools in the 8-man division approximately? Because that's great.
Um, that's the one I don't have off the top of my head,
Oh,
Jake.
well, I don't want to, while you're looking for that,
Yeah,
in 2008, when Sunshine was getting started, I was still the AD down in Miami at Palmer Trinity. And I'd just really taken that job and looking at the football program. Long story short, we considered that in the next couple of years of joining because we were never going to compete, as you said, for let alone a state championship, a district championship at that time. And we ended up going independent. We had a great coach come in, built the program up, middle school, high school, and we were very competitive in our put together independent league down there. So the principle that you discussed, it makes perfect sense, particularly for some of those private schools that end up getting lumped in with larger enrollment schools because the state association has to fill out those district numbers. So yeah, I mean,
yeah, and
great opportunity.
that's nobody's fault, right? Like that's
Mhm.
just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes,
Mhm.
right? The Atlantic, we have 20 schools in the Atlantic, and we have 30 schools in 8-man football.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. Okay, and I'll
Yep,
bet
and
there's
then
another. I'll go low, at least a dozen schools that would love to have an 8-man football team that might not have one now.
right, yeah, and so that's a really good opportunity. And then we have 50 50 11-man teams in like the private, in that whole 11-man segment, whether they're private or charter or whatever. So we have a really good division. In fact, we've grown, I would say, with 8 man in like the last couple weeks as well. I think we were sitting at like 28. We got a couple last minute members who were able to get pushed through on the last membership vote, and that pushed us up to 30 with the 8 man schools.
Oh,
So
that's
um,
fantastic.
yeah, so it's and they're all over the state. We divide things out into like I said, divisions for the 8 man side of it, which is pretty cool to see. So, um, up here in the Jacksonville area, get down to Gainesville, there's 5 schools in that division. We've got, some that have 6, some that have, I think we have one that has 4. It's more so on the Gulf side of things. But yeah, we've got some, we're getting some really good traction, especially on the football side, and football is a really good event. Our state championships are held at the Villages Charter
Mhm,
down in the
mhm,
Villages, Florida, which they have a phenomenal facility,
mhm.
which is great.
Yeah, that's just down the road from where I'm at.
Yeah,
I'm curious. You mentioned your situation at Eagles View, where your district assignment included a team that was just tremendous more enrollment than you had, but
yeah,
also knowing that school, maybe some more resources financially and otherwise. That again, nothing against them. They're certainly going to use what they have to
yeah.
have that success. And I know you just took the job, so this I might be putting you on the spot here. Has there been in the history of the association a school that okay, we can't compete in the other state association, so we'll join Sunshine, and now all of a sudden they're the bully and just dominating play in a particular sport, and the other Sunshine members are going, "Hey, what the heck's going on?" Has something like that happened to your knowledge?
Yeah, so I mean, just being at Eagles View for the last 3 years, you see some schools make some decisions to go over and move. We had a school here in Jacksonville that was previously SSAA. Decided they hired a new coach. They decided to move back into FHSA. Ultimately, didn't pan out for them the way that they wanted to. They moved back to SSAA with a new athletic director, a new coach, and they were one of the top schools. And so we see that obviously down in the Orlando area. Mount Dora Christian is a phenomenal, first of all, phenomenal facilities like turf field, all that good stuff. They have a great athletic department. And Megan, who's their athletic director, has actually replaced me as vice president on the board when I got this position. But they're SSA for football. Obviously, similar situation. They can compete. They're a for us, we liked scheduling them at Eagles View because we knew that we would get, strength of schedule points and different things like that for us just by playing them. Whether you lose by, a touchdown or whether you lose by 4 touchdowns, you got some positive points there. And so, yes, we do see that. We see some pretty, you know, good success from those schools that, were kind of on the lower side of the totem pole, and another association that would jump over for us and do pretty well. So it's good to see that. And again, it adds that level playing field, right? And hey, look, in every aspect, every association across the United States, right? There's going to be powerhouses, there's going to be
Mhm,
mediocre teams, and there's going to be bottom of the barrel teams. That's just life, right?
mhm.
Um, but this does give everybody, in the way that we do our seedings and everything else that we do for the tournaments, everybody has a fair opportunity, which is pretty cool to see.
Right. No, and that's a great point. I've sat in, I was an AD for a long time here in Florida,
Yeah,
and I've sat in those meetings where you hear coaches and ADs, and they're passionate for their school, but it's almost like they feel, it's their birthright to, win a district or, get to the state playoffs. And I'm going, hey, no, you got to earn that. And of
yeah,
course, it's got to be the right fit. We keep coming back to that, the right fit. And I love what you mentioned about Sunshine is that you allow teams, and I guess it goes both ways. The FHSA allows schools to have dual membership. They can
yeah.
compete in this sport in the FHSAA, and in a different sport they can go Sunshine. What do you and again, I know we're doing this, listeners, for a couple reasons. Zach and I, I think we're pretty good friends. I heard about his new job, wanted to say hi to him and give him a chance to talk about the association. So he just literally took the job. But what are some Where do you see the Sunshine State Athletic Association going in the next couple of years? Are you looking to add more sports to your menu to service the schools that you have? You trying to, upgrade again the championship venue at the Villages? You're right, that's a tremendous site. Are you looking to upgrade the student athlete experience? I guess what are your goals or visions maybe for the next year or two?
Yeah, so just for listeners, the sports that we offer championships for are in the fall is volleyball, cross country, golf, and football. We have basketball and soccer in the winter, and then we've got in the spring baseball, softball, and track and field. And what we would like to do is eventually, add in a couple other avenues. Again, we're dealing with smaller schools, so is a school with 120 in high school going to have a lacrosse team? Probably not. So that's why you don't see some of those sports that we have now. One that is really, really growing that I would love to see added would be girls flag football.
Absolutely, yeah.
Um, that is, we just started girls flag football last year at Eaglesview, and it was a major success. So I do think that we could eventually get to that point and add girls flag football. We've tossed around swimming. For our basketball and volleyball state championships, we utilize the Advent Health Fieldhouse, which is there in Winter Haven, Florida, and they have a pool and a swimming area as well. And so we've thought about tossing that around and looking at swimming, and we want to make sure that the sport is sustainable, right? Like the worst thing is you stay as an athletic director, even in this position I'm in now, you don't want to start a sport. And then next thing you know, next year you got nobody that shows up to it,
Exactly.
right? So
Absolutely.
you've really got to put some extra planning into it. I think the only sport we could get away with like starting immediately would be girls flag football because I think it would be sustainable with no problem. But swimming could be a tough one. So
Mhm.
that's kind of the difference and the ideas behind that.
Right. And again, flag football, you're absolutely right. In Florida, it is a huge sport, but you got to have the numbers. For the
Right.
FHSA, they do it in the springtime, and it's great. I'm thinking that do it in the fall. Okay. Do it as the preliminary game for the varsity football team. Get the girls out there. They play their game, maybe kick off at 5, then have the tackle football game at 7, and just kind of build on that. And I don't know the dynamic, how many volleyball players are also doing flag football in the spring or cross country. Again, you got to make it work. But
Right.
I think that would be a very cool to see girls flag football anytime, but
Yeah,
maybe in the fall.
absolutely.
Hmm?
And one that I actually forgot to mention was beach volleyball. Beach volleyball, we started that. Um, we had about over 50 schools within beach volleyball before it was even a recognized state sport. And
Hmm.
then it became a recognized state sport with another association. And so we've seen some drop off in that. But we still have several schools that will come out and compete at the beach volleyball level. But that's kind of one of those ones that, it was had a ton of success back in the day, and now that it's kind of, across the board within the state and another association as well, it's one of those things that we have to look at and see, is it going to be able to be, sustainable and keep it going?
But I mean that's a great success story. I was still the athletic director at Maclay when we started beach volleyball because they had an opportunity to participate in the Sunshine State Association, and we did that I think for a couple of years. And then you're absolutely right. The FHSAA adopted it as a registered sport, and that's where our school went. But
Yeah,
kudos to you and your organization for
right.
having the foresight to start that sport. Good for you.
Yeah,
Well, Zach, if one of our listeners wanted to find out more about the Sunshine State Athletic Association, or just listeners, you need to reach out and connect with Zach. Tremendous resource, longtime AD, longtime coach. He's still coaching right now, college basketball, while he's the director of athletic operations. How do they find out more? Where do they go, Zach?
yeah. And just kind of a little caveat on that, like complain about having to do too much and things like that, and then here I am still, have this side opportunity going, right? So anyway, that's a topic for maybe another episode, Jake. So one thing, you can go to our website, sunshinestateathletics.com, and get a decent bit of information from there. We're very active on the Twitter side of things, which is or the X side of things. I guess that has officially stuck, so we got to go with X now. And that is at SSAA Athletics. We also have one for football on there as well, which is SSA football, and you can find that. Any information for football and Gage Brown, who and that's I need to give all my sport coordinators a shout out here. Gage Brown manages our football and our baseball and softball and does a phenomenal job at all three of those events and sports. Steph Martin does volleyball, soccer, and beach volleyball. And then we have Carlos Reyes, who does cross country, golf, basketball, and track and field. So we have some three sport coordinators who work directly with me, and these are they've been here longer than I have, which is great, and they are a phenomenal asset. And all of their information can be found on our website as well. And then if you have any questions, if you're interested, you're a small school, and you say, hey, I've been thinking about this, but I just don't know, I didn't know, or this or that, you can email me. And that is Zach at sunshinestateathletics.com. And I'd love to answer any of your questions and just chat with you. If you have any questions on, small schools or anything in general, don't hesitate to reach out.
Well, again, thanks for spending some time with us on the podcast. All the best for the coming seasons, family, coaching, and
Yeah,
Sunshine State. And hopefully, our paths will cross this fall at a competition, and we can catch up on things.
absolutely, Jake. Thank you for having us. And we're excited for SSA to get out there and just get in front of people.
Yeah. And one more time for our listeners, Zach was also one of our contributors for one of our other books, The Small School Athletic Director. He was one of our 35 ADs that helped contribute to that very popular book. So you can find out more things, Zach Shank. Get yourself a copy of Small School AD. Just a reminder for listeners, we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Toolbox Extra just about every week and just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please join us next time on the Educational AD Podcast. Thanks again. Hey, before we go, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors, of course. We want to thank Hometown. I want to say thanks to Ohio University. We'd like to thank Gipper, Sideline Interactive, Home Campus, Snap Raise, Huddle. I want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Toolbox Extra on the Educational AD Podcast.